The exploration of discovery of greater possibilities happens for most people during their college days. It's a time where everyone has the opportunity to explore the limitless possibilities of the future and their own overall potential. In the spring of this year, approximately 15.9 million students were enrolled in a post-secondary institution, and approximately 11.6 million of them, or 73%, were enrolled in an associate or bachelor program. Joe Johnston is fiercely dedicated to helping college students elevate to their highest level of personal and professional potential. He provides the future leaders of tomorrow with leadership tools they need to ensure that they can explore the full limits of their personal potential. In addition, Johnston is a highly sought after and engaging keynote speaker. His areas of expertise lie in personal development, wellness, and optimization, which make him a hit with college and corporate audiences alike. Finally, Johnston is also incredibly passionate about helping other aspiring motivational speakers reach the fullest heights of their own professional potential. And he joined me this week to have a wide-ranging conversation on personal development, wellness, public speaking, and defining what his why and purpose is in his professional and personal life. If you're ready for an engaging, thought-provoking, and highly energetic conversation, without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. To welcome you to the program, my friend. I'm delighted to be with you this morning to engage in conversation about leadership this morning. Great to see you, and thanks so very much for being here, my friend.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be a part of the show. I'm honored to get to know you. You know, obviously you joined the program. We got introduced through Aaron, and so it's an honor, man. It's really just been awesome to get to know you, and man, seeing you show up in the community and putting in the work towards building your speaking business over these past couple of weeks. It's super exciting. And, you know, a little side note here, you know, Aaron and I kind of talk internally, obviously, about different clients. And man, I text him and I'm like, dude, Kevin's going to blow up, man. Kevin's going to blow up. Right. And so, dude, you're putting in the work and it's just exciting. But yeah, man, again, honored to be here, and let's get it rocking.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly appreciate the compliment, buddy, and I know that a large part of why you do this is because you're motivated to be inspired for other people and for the people that have meant so much to you. So I'm wondering if we can start our conversation by you simply defining what is your why and what gets you out of bed every morning with a passion for living life.
Yeah, man, good question. You know, and I think before I even dive in, I think that question of what your why is, what your purpose is, I have a couple thoughts on that. One, I think it's not something that a lot of people think about, you know, and do the work to find out what that is. You know, I think it's on that note, a constant process of what is my why in this chapter of my life, and iterating on that. And then two, I think as well, it's like it takes work to find that thing, right? And so one of the things that I always say is like, I think people can see someone like myself or even like you is like, oh, this person's doing something they love and they're speaking and they have this business and they know what they're meant to do and it must have come so easy to them. But often what they don't see is, I quit my major, I switched my major like 8 times in college. I quit like 3 jobs when I was first out of college, in pursuit of finding something that I wanted to do, in pursuit of my passion, my why, my purpose, whatever that is, right? And so with that being said, I just think that's a couple, noteworthy things to mention there. Man, I think, my why is mainly related, obviously, to the speaking industry. And it's the speaking industry is kind of the medium that I go about achieving my why, right? And so putting speakers on stages. So 3 parts of the speaking agency. I'm a coach, I'm a speaker myself, and I'm an agent, right? So I coach individuals like yourself, experts who are looking to get their own consistent paid speaking engagements. I coach them on how to do things. The way that I got to that point is I myself am a speaker, and I'm also a speaker agent. So I represent different experts, myself being one of them, and I book those individuals to stages to go out and impact and change lives. But I think really when it comes down to it, when I think of my why, it comes down to a simple quote from controversial but great linebacker Ray Lewis. He said, "Success is one thing, but impact is another." I live to impact people, and so I think that's kind of what my why kind of buries down to is in every interaction that I have, it's kind of underlined by this belief of like, how can I impact a life or how can I change and help this person and move the needle in their life forward in some sort of positive direction. So I think my why kind of just distills down to that is positively impacting others as much as possible.
Yeah, and I know that a large part of your own message is, as a motivational speaker, my friend, is all about transformational growth and optimizing potential. So, how do you define transformational growth, and how do you think people can achieve it on a larger scale?
Yeah, man, good question. Let me answer the first part of that, or I'm sorry, the latter part of that question of how individuals can achieve transformational growth. And excuse me, I don't think it's the common answer, but I think it is an important one. And Kevin, is my audio okay? Are you picking up any background noise?
I hear background noise, but your audio is fine.
Okay, cool. So I think the big thing for me is, dude, you got to heal, right? In order to achieve transformational growth, in order to become the individual that you want to become, I really think it's vital. The first step is actually healing. And as opposed to going back, and this is a lot of my message on mental health is like, dude, you got to heal the things that are holding you back. There are things that stand in our way, whether we're trying to, go to the next level in any level, and we need to address those things. And a lot of people never achieve kind of transformational growth if they're getting down a personal development path because they don't want to face those things. They don't want to face the fears. They don't want to face that ugly thing in the mirror that is standing in their way of the life that they want and transformational growth. So I think the number one way to achieve it is first doing those things, right? So hitting the thing that is in your way, the fear, the trauma, the thing that's holding you back, right? Now, what transformational growth actually is, dude, that's a good question, right? And I think it's different for everyone, but I think it's making the change in the area or areas of your life that you're trying to change and getting the result that you want. Like very simple, right? Because if you really look at like the mass of humanity, like most people aren't living the lives that they really truly at their cores would like to be living. And so I think what transformational growth is over time you start to live that life, right? And you start to create that life, right? If I think about where my life is today, we're coming up here on the end of the year, about 10 days left in 2022. It's like, dude, my life is vastly different in every good possible way than it was a year ago. And like on all aspects, right? Like professionally, financially, socially, you know, in my relationships, everything is different for the better. And I think that is what transformational growth is over time, if you can reflect on a year and say, man, all the key aspects of my life that I care about are vastly different and better and improved than they were a year ago. And if you can do that day over day, week over week, year over year, that is transformational growth, in of course the positive direction that you want to be going.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I'm curious to dive into your personal journey and story and how that influences and impacts the work that you do today.
Yeah, man, good question. So I guess How far back should I go? I guess I'll go back to college. College, I grew up before college, very like, very good life, man. Very, very good life, loving family, loving parents, loving brother, loving community, all that good stuff. I hit some difficulties in college. That's when I had to struggle with a little bit of like mental health, anxiety, depression, had to face some of those things from my past that I wasn't proud of that I'd done, forgive myself, offer forgiveness or rather offer apologies to others for some things that I had done from my past that were still haunting me. And that was really what set me down this path, right? It was going on my own healing journey, going to therapy, seeing the transformation that it started to have and I started to have in myself. And it really got me fascinated with this world of psychology and personal development. And so started diving into that about 3 to 6 months after college. I came across an online course somewhat similar to the course that Aaron and I offer in our coaching program on how to grow your speaking business. I invested in that course and I started getting down this world of professional speaking and just trying to impact lives. I've always enjoyed speaking, and I felt I had a message to offer when it came to personal development and psychology. And so yeah, man, just started outreaching to people, started doing talks as much as possible for free, for low pay and impacting lives. And, beyond that, it kind of expanded to serve, clients on topics that I necessarily couldn't serve those clients on. And so that's a little bit of what we do now, right? With the speaking agency and obviously the coaching offer. But yeah, man, I think some of my own personal journey of seeing what personal development can do, seeing what personal growth can do. And I mean, dude, even now, like seeing what having a business can do, like that's a lot of what we're offering you all in the coaching program is like, dude, like this is about speaking and building a speaking business, but this is also about building like a lifestyle business that's fucking amazing, where you can impact lives, you can travel, you can spread your message, and you also have time and financial freedom to live life on your terms. And I think we're in a unique time in today's day and age where with the internet, a lot of more people can do that. And if you put in the work and you stay consistent, like you can create a life that you never imagined.
Yeah, and Joe, I know that since you've started your speaking business, you've impacted over 30 programs and you've spoken to major audiences. So I'm curious to ask you, when you look at your moment of impact, how do you define that in terms of personal fulfillment? And how do you gauge whether you've really been personally fulfilled after you give a speech or a talk?
Dude, that's a really good question. Well, one of the things you said there is fulfillment, and I think that's something a lot of people miss in life. Tony Robbins talks about the science of success versus the art of fulfillment, and success truly is a science. Like anyone can go make money, dude. Money's a numbers game, and you can figure out how to make money, but to actually be fulfilled in your life across all aspects, and the work that you do, and the people that you love, and the people that you surround yourself with, and the activities that you do is like super important. Is really truly finding deep fulfillment in these things is an art, as opposed to success being a science. Yeah, man, in terms of how I find that for myself and how I gauge, I think it's really based on how my performance is, which I think can be good and bad. But dude, as long as I know every day that I showed up and did the things I said I was going to do and did that at the highest possible level that I could say I did them at, I try to gauge off of that, right? And like, look, like some days you're going to show up and you're going to miss some things. Today I missed my workout. I decided to sleep in a little longer. I was just a little tired. So I missed my workout this morning. And so look, like that wears on you a little bit. At the end of the day, it probably won't be as good of a day as if I did hit my workout, and might hit a run later to kind of make up for things. But I think for me, man, I kind of gauge it by doing my best, showing up, getting better, coming from a place of service, serving from the heart with a heart open. And if I can do that, then I kind of consider it a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, one of the reasons that I was excited to meet you and become involved with what you do is, one of the tenets that I live my life by is inclusion is the gateway to independence. And one of the reasons I became a motivational speaker was because I believe that everyone deserves a platform for success, my friend. So I'm curious to ask you, when you think of the word inclusion, for everyone, what do you think of when you think of the word inclusion?
Yeah, man, good question. I don't know if this is going to be the answer that you're looking for, but it's something that I've thought about recently, and I think it relates to inclusion. And so I'll kind of throw it out there and I'll hear your thoughts on it. So obviously, I work with Aaron, who quote unquote is legally blind, and so on paper they would call someone like Aaron, oh, someone who has a disability, right? Working with yourself and kind of where you're at, it's like, quote unquote, someone would say you'd be categorized as someone who has a disability. And so over the past year, 2 years, as I've built this coaching program, as I've grown closer with Aaron, booked him to speaking engagements, I've quote unquote worked with people who have, again, on paper, what people would consider physical, mental, whatever disabilities. But that said, what I found, and I've thought about, potentially posting about this, is like, dude, the only disability that is out there is a disability of the mind. Because individuals that I've worked with who have quote unquote on paper had physical limitations or disabilities were far, far more successful, far, far more hardworking, far, far more driven, and just more of a pleasure to be around than some people that are quote unquote not disabled. And so I think it's just really interesting for me. Again, I don't know how much this goes into your question, but when I think about kind of inclusivity or that word disability, in my experience, the only disability that's out there is in the mind, and actually believing that you can. And what I mean by that is not like, being mentally disabled or anything like that. I mean, like actually truly believing that you can do something, you want to do something, and then going out and executing on it. Because again, I know people that, Aaron, yourself, any of these other individuals that I work with are far more successful than the normal kind of quote unquote non-disabled individual, simply because you all have a mindset that does not hold you back and that empowers you. And I think every single person can have that. And so, yeah, man, I think when I think of that word, that's kind of a little bit of a side note. I think when I think of inclusivity, I just think of, creating an inclusive culture, creating a culture where people feel welcome, people feel open and safe to share the things on their mind, whether they come from a different background, whether they come from, a different place. But we're creating a culture, we're creating a community where the space is safe enough to hold different views, different perspectives, different opinions on things and different backgrounds. So that's sort of what I think when I think of inclusivity. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of my first part there. And I know it was kind of sideline to your question, but just something I felt called to share as you asked that question.
Yeah, Joe, one of the things that I haven't shared with you yet is one of the reasons I started this podcast is, having a disability sometimes you deal with social isolation and a deficit in like social capital. So one of the reasons that I'm outwardly like passionate and to this day, I still suffer with social isolation at some points in my life. But I think building community is a big part of being included because then you're exposed to different perspectives that you wouldn't otherwise be, right? Right, if you're only surround yourself with like-minded people. So when I think of inclusion, I think of building bridges of unity because I think one of the reasons also I wanted to speak was I wanted to bring people closer together because, there are so many devices that tear us apart. So, one of the reasons I do this podcast and speak is I'm all about building bridges of unity and making sure that people have a chance to maximize their fullest potential.
Dude, 100%, man. 100%. And what you said there is like so big is like community, right? And like creating and building a community. I know that's something like Aaron and I are focused on and doing in the program is how do we build community, right? How do we create that so people want to be a part of this? They feel comfortable being a part of this. They feel comfortable sharing their ideas, sharing their voices. And it's such a important concept, and it's also such a basic human need is being part of a community and a tribe. So I think that's huge, man. I love that you are on that mission as well to do that within your life.
Yeah, and I know one of your main missions as a speaker and a speaking agent and coach is going beyond the surface when you talk to people. So talk to me about what going beyond the surface means to you.
Yeah, dude, you got to get to the root, right? And so I kind of talk a little bit about this with my mental health talk. My main mental health talk is leadership-based wellness, and the focus of it is healing roots as opposed to treating symptoms. And I think I'm not going to dive into how that relates to mental health because that's sort of more of my talk and my work. But dude, it's like in order to look as speakers, as professionals, as experts, our goal to create change and transformation. And like in order to do that and to solve problems, we have to get to the root of things. And so everyone looks at you are going to look at the root of creating an inclusive community and how to do that different than how I look at it or someone else looked at it. And so that's what we offer as speakers is we offer unique perspectives to solving these problems that is different from other speakers, other individuals, other experts. And so, part of half the battle with the speaker is one, figuring out what is your unique perspective, your unique message. And then two, how do I uniquely share that with the market, with meeting planners in order for them to be attracted and want to book me and pay me a large sum of money, right? And so that's kind of half the battle. But yeah, man, I think it's all about healing roots, right? If like for me, it's just like getting down to the root of things, whether it's why your students are struggling with mental health, whether it's why your employees aren't closing deals at a high rate. If we can do an assessment with the group, understand the root of the problem, get to the root, make them aware of the root, and then start solving the root, then we're doing our job and we're going to create lasting change and transformation over time, which is the ultimate goal of our work.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I know you work extensively with college students and helping them reach their fullest potential. So tell me, for any college student or who may be watching or listening to this, what do you think is the key to putting them on a pathway to success as they start their post-secondary journey?
Yeah, man. Good question, man. You have some good questions, bro. And you did your research, which is the sign of a good podcaster. So, yeah, man. I'm very passionate about the college market. I wouldn't say I'm ever going to move away from there. I really, really enjoy doing colleges. And the reason that is because, I struggled in college. And I think one of the best pieces of advice, obviously, like there's a whole depth and wealth of knowledge that I share in my program to college students. But remember that, like, people say, oh, college is the best 4 years of your life. It's not. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be. College should be a very, very fun 4 times. And maybe by the time you graduate, you say, that was the best 4 years of my life to this point. However, college, and I think the goal of college is to start to set you up for success in your post-secondary life. And what I mean by that is, like, start thinking about what's next for you. Start exploring, right? Fucking change your major 8 times. My apologies for the swear, but dude, change your major 8 times. Like, don't give up on your dreams. Focus on your passions. Focus on ruthlessly during your time in college, figuring out who you are, figuring out your identity, starting to form that, and start exploring different things that you might potentially want to do long term in your life, so that when you do get out into the world, it's going to be a scary and a tough transition, but at least you will be better equipped and prepared to ultimately living the life that you want and creating the life that you want. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice is college should be a fun 4 years, but it should not be the best 4 years of your life. It should be preparing you for the 40 best years of your life, the 60 best years of your life after college.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I'm curious to ask you about your transformational moment in your own life. I think I shared with you mine when I was 9 years old, and I was in my principal's office, and she looked at me after I had learned that I wouldn't be able to walk for my life, and she said to me, the only limitations on your life are the artificial ones that you place on yourself individually. So I'm curious to ask you, what was the transformational moment or aha moment in your life, and how did you define the word courage? Because, it has a different definition for most people. So I know it's a two-part question, so you can take it in any direction that you would like.
Yeah, man, I love it. And that's a powerful transformational moment. Thank you for sharing. I'm sure you've shared before with your listeners, but it's always good to hear that as well again, and hearing people's specific transformational moments. I think I've had a couple, but they all come down to a common theme, and that was taking a leap, right? And so there's a great Steve Harvey video. He's talking to Family Feud crowd after Family Feud one night. Talks about, hey man, at some point in your life, you are going to have to jump. At some point in your life, you're going to have to take a leap. And you have to understand when you leap out of the airplane, like your parachute might not come out right away. And it might be a little scary for a little while, right? And so, two specific moments in my life. One was my senior year. I was on a track to graduate as a business major, but I'd taken a couple psychology courses. I was a psychology minor and was really getting into the world of psychology. And I remember, early the start of my first semester of college, I just walked out of a class, a business class that I was in, and I was repeating that to myself. You get to take a leap, and I went and completely switched my major to psychology and loaded up my schedule with like 12 psychology courses senior year, and graduated as a psychology major because I was just feeling pulled to. I was feeling pulled to that, and it was a pretty crazy leap to make in senior year when I was on a track to graduate as a business major. So that was one, and then the second one that I had was leaving my job, man, for the last time. Leaving my job a year and a half ago to go full in on my business. And I remembered I was sitting in a cafe down here in Austin, Texas. I actually just accepted a new job. I'd left another old job and just accepted a new job. And I was about to start at this new job on a Monday morning, and I was sitting with one of my friends, and I was like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm trying to train. Like, I have no motivation to do this. And so I called the person that hired me and said, hey, you got a second to chat? And I said, dude, I can't start. Like, I need to go work. I need to go build my own business. And they were fortunately very, very understanding. But that was like in recent memory, a year and a half ago, man. And that was like a very big pivotal moment for me of like, dude, I'm going all in on this. I've talked about going all in on this for a while and quitting my job. It is time, and we're going to go make it happen. And it was rocky for a little while. But figure things out, man. You get your feet underneath you, and things are working out now. So that's the way I would say that. And then, like, look, dude, when it comes to courage, very simple definition. Courage is simply having the fortitude to do what you want to do with your life and make the decisions that you want to make. And like, look, the reason I say that is because most motherfuckers don't do that. Like, in full transparency, it's like, dude, the majority of people are not living the life that they want, and they know the life that they want. Like, they have the calling on their heart, or if they took enough stillness, if they were brave enough to take enough stillness, they would be able to get a sense of what they wanted, or at least to know that what they're doing is not what they ultimately want to be doing, whether, again, it's in their relationships, in their career, whatever. But courage to me is just truly living in alignment as much as possible every day with the person that you truly, truly want to be at your core, and living in alignment and taking the actions towards that person. I think that's what true courage is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, in the few minutes I have left with you, buddy, I'm curious to ask you about why do you love living life? I mean, why do you think life is worth living? Because, in my view, my friend, life is a fragile gift worth celebrating. So my final question for you today has to do with why do you love living life? And when you want your own legacy, both personally and professionally, how do you want that to be defined?
Yeah, man. Good question. I think for me, it comes down to a quote by a guy that I revere very much, named Sigmund Freud. I'm sure you've heard of him. Very influential in the field of psychology. And he has a quote. He says, love and work, work and love. That's all there is. And when I think about life, and as I continue to grow somewhat older and, get busier more than anything, I really realized like life can be broken down into those two pieces: love and work, work and love. And love is your relationships, your business relationships, which we have somewhat of a business relationship as well as somewhat of a friendship, right? So your business relationships, your personal relationships, so these are your friends, your intimate friends, the people you hang out with, and then also your more intimate kind of loving relationships, right? So for myself, heterosexual male, those would be with, women that I date or see or whatever, right? And so relationships is one with love. And then the other piece, I think, why I love living life is work, right? And doing meaningful, deep, fulfilling work, and getting the opportunity to impact and work with individuals like yourself, or work with someone like my business partner, Aaron, and create something that impacts people in a way that is aligned to myself and our vision and our mission as individuals. And so, man, I think to answer your question, when it comes down to why I love living life so much, it comes down to those two pieces: love and work. doing work that's deeply fulfilling and meaningful, and obviously pays the bills, which is nice, and allows me to do more things that I love and enjoy doing. And then love, man, relationships. That can be any type of love for a dog, love for a business colleague, love for a friend, love for a person at the coffee shop, love for a lover, love for a family member, whatever. But I think it's that relationships and that work piece, and finding things that really fulfill you in those areas of your life, finding people that fulfill you and that are meaningful to you, just doubling down on that and growing that and getting as much as that as possible. Those are the two main reasons why I love living so much.
Absolutely. And Joe, finally tell me if people want to get connected with you personally, the speaking business, or want to learn how to become a great speaker, what's the best way they can get in contact with you, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. Again, thank you so much for having me at the Joe Johnston on social media, TheJoeJohnston. That's going to be on Instagram. That's the main platform that I'm active on. You can just shoot me a message on there. Hey, I heard John Kevin's podcast. Always down to connect with people. Anyone connected to you, Kevin, I'm sure is going to be someone that I would enjoy chatting with as well. So, yeah, man, they can find me on there. And again, brother, I really appreciate you. I'm excited for your journey. 2023 is going to be a huge year. I think it's also important as well. Hey, reflect on 2022, but also start setting the goals for 2023, and let's all launch to the moon.
Well, it's always important to be forward thinking, isn't it?
Always, my friend. You got to enjoy what you've done, but you always got to be thinking about what's next.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, I really want to thank you for joining me to engage in conversation about your personal and professional life, and I really appreciate the work you do to impact people and the work that you've done to impact my life, my friend. Your work in this space. And Tom, on my behalf this morning is most appreciated. I want to wish you happy holidays and thank you for joining me this morning. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays, my friend.